And this is something that you and I know pretty intimately to speak to her behavior right now. The movie quotes. She gets very animated when she's talking about Adam in that interview. And she's animated here because she said, Nate, I want you to watch this movie. And do you relate to this movie? Adam, Rex, Lisa, me, you, we were in a Verbo or an Airbnb. What did we do on family fun night, the last night in the house? I am seeing through our relationship with Adam and how we communicate with him, this part of this interview and this interaction, probably to very other few people in the world aside from her family and people that know her very well, is not what it seems. It is a much more significant reach for Nate than he or anyone else probably actually understands.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Not just any podcast, but the Jury Duty podcast. We are your hosts. I am Lindsay. That is my co-host bestie, Kimberly. Kimberly, how are you?
Let's see, last time I was medium rare, but I don't know if that ever made it to light of the day. So I'm medium rare today. How are you?
I like it. Yes, I'm good. It's funny because I had a really nice Facebook message from a follower of ours and was like, how come you always wear hats? And my response to that, I've got a couple of reasons, okay? First, I live in a very humid state. Between humidity, mom of boys, cancer treatment, like I look like... You know Angelica from the Rugrats? I look like her doll,
Oh my God,
Cynthia.
you do not.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
No, you don't. You're gorgeous. Shut up.
Thank you. So I feel like I got to cover that up.
Hi, guys. Anyway,
that was kind of like a long, I don't know. I just felt like I had to get that off my chest. We're all friends here, right?
wear as many hats as you want.
Gotcha. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for tolerating the hats. Anyways, if you are new here, welcome. We're so happy to have a new bestie in the house. If you're a return customer of ours, welcome back. If you're just perusing through, no big deal. But if you want to like, share, subscribe, go ahead and hit all the things if you want to. Hang out with us on our socials. What?
It's not gunshots, guys.
It's not. It's
the
there's
4th of
fireworks
July.
happening. Yeah,
just sounds like
been
random.
It's a lot of things. Yeah, I don't live in a questionable area. It's just fireworks in the back. Anyways, we are going to talk about Lori's interview with Nate. We've watched it. We had some time to digest. We're going to go through the interview, talk about some facts that aren't facts. Is that what you're saying?
I did some fact checking, but also after listening to it a second, third time, we originally reacted to it, and then that video went, no, I don't want to work. So that's fine, because I actually, the second and third time I watched it, there's some insights I feel like you and I have that are unique to us about some of the things that she said here and in other interviews that sort of dawned on me as I was listening to it again. So as many, all, I don't know how many of you know, we're good friends with Grunkle Rex and Adam, and we've sort of been adopted into the family. Don't worry, we're still kicking and breathing. But we've had some close quality time to get some insight into the family dynamics. And I think some of that makes more sense to me now that I've watched this and digested it too. So if you want those insights, we have them.
So without further ado, let's skidoo to Nate's video. So let go.
Well, let's hope it works. The first time we watched this, I was like, Nate, why are you blend in?
Hi, Lori.
It's so light over there and dark.
How are you? You ready?
Yeah. Are any of my people here? Oh, okay. Hi.
Good to see you.
Nate, such a pleasure.
Have a
Nate
seat.
told us that they weren't supposed to touch. They
And-
were
Long time coming, huh?
It has been. Happy birthday.
Gave him an
Oh, thank you.
impression of how to do it.
Yes.
So I want to start with Chad.
Okay.
You told me years ago.
Today is my birthday.
Today is your birthday.
How old do you think that I am?
Oh, God.
52.
Oh, how did you know?
I do my research.
You must know a lot.
Yes.
The girls are like, are you turning 25 in my pod? And I was like, no, I'm turning 25 plus 25 plus 2.
There you go. So
Do the math.
You told me years ago Chad was the best man you've ever met.
Chad is a very kind person, yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
So besides his spirituality, what else attracts you to Chad?
He's a wonderful person. Everyone who knows him knows that.
I'm going to stop him right there. I'm going to stop her right there. I didn't actually catch this the first or second or third time, and I'm catching it now. When somebody asks you, oh, well, what do you like about her? And you can't name one quality of theirs, like, oh, he's so funny, or he is so witty, and he's always the life of the part. You can't say anything except everyone just knows he's wonderful. Do you really think she's in love with Chad Daybell, or do you think she is just really trying not to make it obvious that, like, well, like, I didn't love him, but I was gonna grow to love him?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, I'm happily married, and, you know, when someone is like, what do you like about your husband? I'm not like, well, he's nice and everyone thinks he's kind.
Right.
Like, that's not what I say.
Right.
That's a weird comment.
It is weird. And I think this is the closest anyone's ever come to getting her to share what she likes about Chad. So the fact that that's the answer we're going to get, I just think that's very telling.
Do you like him, Lori? Like,
are you going steady, or like?
Has paperwork come across your desk at some point that is questionable?
Like, I had a college roommate that only dated a guy because he had a car, and would take her places off campus, like run, like she, you know. And when we would ask her, "What do you see? He's a loser." She's like, "I mean, well, he has a car." I'm like, "Gotcha. Okay, that's where we're at. That's kind of what I'm."
That's the vibe.
That's what I'm getting now. All right, sorry. That I didn't even notice that until now.
You've never met him, right?
I haven't met him other than when we were in Hawaii.
I'm saying you never met him, talked to him, interacted with him, or
no. How often are you able to talk with him?
So we aren't really speaking.
By your own choice, or just because it's not allowed from like prison to prison?
Yeah, like the way that the mail works here is
you think it's interesting,
very difficult. So we're only allowed to get postcards. Like you can't send a letter to the jail itself. And so there's difficulties within that.
But you still love him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you've said you'll be exonerated, and he will too.
Absolutely, we will.
Will that be before he's executed?
Yes, Nate, before he's executed.
So the exasperation here, I think everybody picked up on the first time. However, when I watched it over and over again, what's interesting is that she's exasperated by the question. Like, duh, of course, before he's executed. When else would I? It's almost like she's not quite understanding that Nate is leaning into her fanatical nonsense. And he literally means, like, okay, in this life, in the next life, because she's, you know, this mythical immortal creature that's going to have 74 more probations and all these lives. Time and distance shouldn't matter. When will he be exonerated? It was actually a very respectful question from Nate, whether he meant it to be or not. It sounded a little cheeky, which I'm okay with, but the fact that she rolled her eyes like, well, duh, of course, before he's executed, like, Nate was leaning in and she missed it entirely.
She could have easily said, yeah.
Right.
And that's it.
But she's exasperated, like, duh, idiot, of course. What else would I? I'm like, interesting. Because if she's so wrapped up in the belief system she has, and she really, you know, is bought all in on this ridiculous nonsense, you'd think that her first response wouldn't be, well, yeah. It would be, well, yeah, but, and anything but that. But she seemed really put off by that, like it was a stupid question.
Well, she came into this guns loaded. You know what I'm saying?
Has the gunfire sounds.
I know, that was pun intended.
Perfect.
But no, I think she's looking for some heat here, right?
I think so. And I think that just went right over her head. And it'll happen again in this interview where he is miscommunicating with her about the time-space continuum, so we should say. And I thought that was interesting too. But that was the first big red flag for me. Like, if you're really bought in, that wouldn't have been a question that got you so irritated. Like, duh, you big dum-dum. When else would he be exonerated? Okay. Okay.
You're well aware, I know that you are LDS as well as I am, right? And you're well aware that the 3 Nephites in 3 Nephi 28 were given the death penalty 7 times. They were arrested after Jesus personally translated them, okay? They were arrested, convicted, and given the death penalty 7 times. And where are they today?
I don't know.
They're still wandering the earth.
Yeah.
They didn't get executed.
So
they didn't get the death penalty. And there's 220 people in this country who have been on death row and have been exonerated and gone home.
Do you think it'll be soon then?
I think it'll be in the Lord's time. I know that it will be in the Lord's time. And when you say the word soon, if you've ever watched The Chosen or dealt with Jesus,
does it bother you? Trial, he blamed it on you and Alex.
So now that I know the judicial system and now that I have been my own attorney and how things work, and I've said this before in an interview, it's so different what goes on behind the scenes in a high profile case. Okay. There's strategies going on. There's defenses going on. There's all these things going on that you wish, like, why can't we just go in and tell our side of the story? The attorneys are like, you can't do that. We have to come up with the defense and we have to do this and we have to do this. And like, why don't we just go? Why isn't it you thought, like, if you've never been in the judicial system, which I hadn't before, you thought they get to tell their side of the story, what they think happened. You get to go in and tell your side of the story of what happened. And then the jury gets to decide. And that's not what happens. That's not what happens at all. And it's so sad and disappointing that's.
So you think, Chad, they had to come up with a defense just to have one in court? You don't think he really believed or blamed all of this on you and Alex?
Absolutely. And I know that for a fact because John Pryor came and told me that prior to trial.
He did. He said, this is going to be our defense.
He said, I'm going to blame you, and Chad doesn't want me to, and he wants you to know that. And this is the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees, that nobody knows what's going on. There's so much stuff going on.
Then why doesn't she tell her side of the story now?
And that's what I was just about to say. Then why didn't you tell your attorneys this is what I want to do? Like, why didn't you use that strategy? And the other thought is, like, you had a chance to defend yourself and play it the way you wanted to. You could have gotten on that stand. You could have done whatever. There's nothing happening that's like suppressing you from at least getting on the stand. Yeah, you're going to have to open yourself up. But like, if you're so like, the truth is the truth.
I hear the X-Files music. The truth is out there. But yeah, she's got a laundry list of excuses here and other interviews why she doesn't do things or why she didn't say things. And it's all bull, but her answers are interesting.
Go ahead.
It's like a drive-by shooting. So Lindsay's an hour behind me time zone wise, and we already had all the bang bang pop pop happening earlier, so it's quiet. It's quiet here, but it's gang wars.
Yeah,
it's gang wars there.
On that, you wouldn't even believe all the things that go on. The experts that are being paid, the things that are going on. We got this expert. We paid him $1 million to say the opposite of whatever your expert's going to say.
Untrue. I fact checked that because that's ridiculous and it didn't need fact checking. But her Idaho trial in total, between all of the costs of everything, every witness, travel expense, everything, was 1.8 million. So I don't think $1 million of that went to a witness, but Sure.
Like, sure. What do you mean they paid him? The state paid an expert $1 million retainer to say whatever the opposite of what our state.
How do I get that job
in Idaho?
Millions.
What our witness is going to say. And the attorneys told me this, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like,
you didn't have any witnesses.
We did. In the buildup we did.
But then
we absolutely did.
Call him.
I love Nate, but
well,
you didn't have any.
There's reasons for that. That there's strategies involved. There's things going on, and you have no control when you have attorneys.
And
they're doing it how they want.
And that's why.
And you know what? She only gets partial credit for that answer because your attorney's job is to take the most successful route to do for you what they're supposed to do for you. So while it could be fighting upstream for a lot of people to put on the defense they want, and a smart attorney might look at that and go, that's a dumbass idea. There's no way you're going to get acquitted with that idea. We really shouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean you don't have control. Ultimately, You have the hiring, firing power. You don't like that attorney, they don't want to do what you want, move on to the next one. So I get where she went with it, like, I'll just be my own damn attorney, but not true. What were you thinking about it?
I was waiting for the gunshots to stop. So I just, she's talking out of both sides of her Botox mouth, right? Like,
The lip fillers.
Yeah, I just think that she's like, John Pryor came to me and said, Chad didn't want to blame me, but that's what he was going to do. I just want you to know. But she couldn't, like, do anything on her. Like, it's just all word
It's
vomit.
word salad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she knows that John Pryor probably couldn't confirm or deny that, whether that falls under attorney-client privilege, what Chad did or didn't ask him to do or say. Like, if anyone wants to tally up the number of gunshots we hear and, like, let us know,
We'll send you some
we'll get a
candy.
prize. Oh, man.
But you wanted to be your own attorney.
There's several reasons. The number one reason was because they wanted me to sit here for 5 years while they got to know the case. And I wanted a speedy trial.
Can we go back to Hawaii? When I first met you and Chad.
And we didn't meet. You just put a microphone in my face.
Okay,
That's
when
fair.
I put
Now we've met.
we have met, you're right. Why didn't you just tell me where the kids were?
Because I was not ready to talk about it at all at that point. I was just not ready.
That.
It was very traumatic and I was not ready for any of that.
Are you ready to talk now?
No.
I have talked about it already. Yeah. I feel like a lot of things have happened in these last 5.5 years to give me strength through that tragedy that happened with my children. And I've been a lot more open in being able to talk about it now and through therapy also, like some post-traumatic stress therapy, because it's traumatic. And I'm living in here with some beautiful, intelligent, smart women. And had I never come to Arizona, and I know God put me here for a purpose, because I didn't think Arizona was going to come and get me. In fact, I think you and I had a talk about that, because there was an article that came out in Idaho saying that Arizona was not going to come and extradite me until all my appeals were finished. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and then my
It's
appeals,
like the next day that you were gone.
Yeah, the next day they came and got me. And so, and my appeals attorney was supposed to come. He had an appointment that day when they came to get me to drive down from Boise to Pocatello for us to have a meeting. And they didn't even tell him I was gone. Like, I was just gone that day. They came the next day. So I didn't think they were coming.
You mentioned a tragedy, and you said that this has all been a family tragedy.
Yes.
And it has been a huge tragedy.
Absolutely.
All of this.
Absolutely.
Did she already talk about people being on death row and the 200 exonerations? Was that earlier?
No, I don't think she's gotten to that yet.
Okay.
Juries have said you and Chad and Alex caused the tragedy.
Yeah. That's the judicial system.
But how do you argue with that if all of this evidence came out that showed, that you, Chad?
The only evidence that ever came out is the evidence state wanted to put forth.
Well,
they manipulate the evidence to make it look however they want. And guess who helps them? The media helps them, because from day one, when someone called you, okay, day one, whether it was Detective Hope or Detective Hermosillo, I'm not sure, called you and said, hey, Nate, Eaton, this is going to be the biggest story of your life. And they got that information from Heather Daybell. And Heather Daybell and Detective Hoper are connected, right? Because their kids got married, and they called and she said, oh, I have a story for you. These people killed their spouses so they could get married, which was totally a rumor.
I don't think
totally
that's true,
untrue. Lori. And then you ran with it and you got famous from it, and everybody knows what happened from there, right? So that's the way it goes. So the media put out their narrative. They kept on with it. The state went along with it. The state leaked stuff to the media to say what they wanted.
What's false about the narrative?
Oh my gosh, everything.
Your children were found dead in Chad's backyard. That's not wrong. Tylee was chopped up and burned. That's not wrong.
No, that's all mixed up.
She doesn't like
I saw photos of Jake.
How can that be mixed up? Like, and also this would be a great time. I'm going to say it again later. We're not watching this under any impression that she's telling the truth. We're not buying anything she's selling. A lot of people were really concerned about our sanity in the little clip that I posted. Like, she's pulling the wool over your eyes, you big dummies. No, she's not. Not even remotely close. It's just the things that she's saying and the way she's saying them and the things that she is giving verbally and non-verbally. It's like, Okay, we could talk about that. But this was particularly the next few minutes where she goes on about victims not being victims and evidence not being evidence. I didn't expect that from her. I expected her to say that it was all manipulated or, someone was interpreting, but for her to blatantly just say, nope, that's a mix up. They weren't. Yes, they were. We watched on a helicopter camera as the police.
She's wanting to use vocabulary that's comfortable for her.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you said that, because we're going to circle back to that sentiment. Okay. But that was the first time I think she's ever said, no, that didn't happen.
You could tell it made her very uncomfortable.
It did. It made her very uncomfortable. Nate did not put on the kid gloves for her. I couldn't believe he was like, well, Tyler was chopped up and burnt. I'm like, whoa, okay. Nate is not going to rub any smooth jazz on it. He's just like, boom, 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 fact, which I can respect and appreciate. I just didn't expect it from Nate Eaton. I was like, oh, okay. I think that language jarred her too. Like, no, what? No. It was just interesting because that seemed to rattle her a lot.
AJ wrapped in plastic and duct tape. That wasn't wrong.
Okay. I understand what you're saying of those facts. Those facts in and of themselves are wrapped around a whole lot of untruth.
About how they ended up there.
Correct.
So if Tylee killed JJ and then felt bad and committed suicide, how did she die first?
She didn't.
She didn't?
That's part of their whole fake narrative. That's
Who burned her and chopped her up?
That's part of everything that they were doing. So I don't really want to get into all of those details with you because you obviously are very set in your mind. I'm not here to change people's minds.
I want you to change my mind. I'd love to hear any evidence or facts you have that might make me think, you know what?
That's an interesting psychological pivot for her, because all she wants in life is to change people's minds. She wants people to follow like sheep. And now is the one time she doesn't want to change your mind. She got nothing to sell you, nothing to see here. I think it's interesting. She's allowing this to happen by giving interviews because the cracks are starting to show.
Well, she's like, I'm not here to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I want to talk about, Bible thumping and Nephi and all the things like that. Like she is getting, I think, a little frustrated because she's not driving right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway.
They have it wrong, but I haven't heard any.
Also, not changing people's minds. Get on the boat, Nate. That's a whole mind-changing scenario.
That's because you've been pushing this narrative for 5.5 years. You're not telling me that your mind is not set on what it is already?
Minds can change.
They could change if they're open to change.
Right.
Okay. So,
but just like
miracles are on the way.
She decides who's open.
And you remember I asked you to watch a movie?
Yes. Evan Almighty.
I did. And did you watch that movie?
I did.
And did you identify yourself with the reporter in that movie?
I don't know if I identified myself with. Did you?
So, this is so cringe. This whole part of the interaction is cringe. But see how she's laughing? She seems suddenly like super comfortable talking about Evan Almighty. Something that I was thinking about earlier, and I wrote down some notes for myself, but she gets really comfortable. And this is something that you and I know pretty intimately to speak to her behavior right now. The movie quotes. She tells another interviewer, well, my family's really into movie quotes and we love movies. And it seems like a really stupid thing to say, like that's what she wanted to walk in when she was asked about the green chili chicken enchiladas, for the love of God, by True Crime Arizona, and whether or not she, what was the vibe while she was talking to Adam when he was on the stand. And she said she was a blank. She was doing her job, but she walked in and wanted to, and this is my translation from Lori, disarm him and connect with him because she's known him her whole life and they love movie quotes, and her and Summer talking nothing but movie quotes. And we've watched Adam on their podcast make movie quotes from things like Dumb and Dumber. Like that's accurate, but also she was going to walk into court and she really just wanted to say, Adam, who is Ernest T. Watson? Which, by the way, people keep Googling that. It's not a thing. It's a nickname that Adam had when they would, play and make believe. And Adam didn't love school. And it was just like an inside joke, not a movie quote. But she talks and she gets very animated when she's talking about Adam in that interview. And she's animated here because she said, Nate, I want you to watch this movie. And do you relate to this movie? And I think that in our experience, what did we do in Utah for family fun night? So, Adam, Rex, Lisa, me, you, we were in a Verbo or an Airbnb. This sounds like weird. People are going to be like, you were what? Um, they were doing a book signing and we were there for, support. And what did we do on family fun night, the last night in the house? We watched movie quotes and whose was the funniest. And we pulled up funny movie clips and scenes from movies that we thought would entertain everybody. And that is a big part of their family. It's embedded in their family culture. They relate through movies. They're a movie watching family. Some families like going RV camping. She is actually saying a lot here that Nate's not quite understanding and that other people might not understand, is that that part is true. That's a big part of their family communication. That's especially as how well we know Adam. I think they use other people's words from movie quotes to express complex emotions, to connect, but also to inject humor and all of that fun stuff. It's also easy to recall those quotes when you're looking for words you don't have. And I think there's a lot, at least for like compulsive quoting, that it's just, what am I looking for? It's a way to communicate without having to communicate. And it's also a connection point. And
it's
the
a
fact
love
that
language.
it absolutely is. It also reflects experience. It can also sort of project what you might be thinking, feeling, whatever, based on what that character was thinking. Because you can see that scene in your head and you go, The Notebook, like, what do you want? Like, I know exactly what he's trying to express. And if someone were quoting that, either funny, like, for dinner, what do you want? But that is a love language, or at least it's a common bond. So I don't think Nate understands that by asking him to watch this movie, she's sort of, I don't know why, but that's a moment for her where she thinks she's going to connect with him. If she can get him to relate to Evan Almighty, maybe that's how she sees him, not how she wants him to see himself. I just thought that was really interesting because see how animated she is when 2 minutes ago she was like, no one chopped up Tylee, like the switch. But she gets so into this conversation and people are making fun of it. I don't blame them. It was cringe. It's going to be cringe to watch. I'd love to fast forward through it. She also gets the plot of the movie wrong, but she spends a great deal of time here, and that's where she's comfortable. Very comfortable. She also said in that last interview with True Crime Arizona about her interactions with Adam in court, I think I'm going to quote verbatim, the women are more emotional than the men. So she, in response to whether she was keeping it together, how she was feeling. And do you remember a couple of months ago, Adam had a question for the podcast that he wanted people to answer. He didn't know how to communicate with a woman at his workplace that was really emotional. How do I do this? Just, I'm seeing the different shades of gray that these people are definitely related, not in the negative ways that people are going to run with, but I am seeing through our relationship with Adam and how we communicate with him and Rex. And now I'm seeing how she's interacting with Nate. It's like she's using him as a surrogate. And that was really just like, wow, she is so into this. And that was the first thing I thought is she might see Nate sort of in some weird, creepy way, like the surrogacy role where she's big sistering him, or you know what I mean? Like it just, I can't quite explain it.
She's trying to connect with him in a way that he is. I'm getting the vibe he has a wall up, of course.
Yeah.
She's trying to. Sorry, guys, I'm going to move my camera a little bit. She's trying to connect with him and feel like they have some sort of bond, and they're going to bond over this movie. And I think with that, she's going to feel like we're going to have these jokes and we're going to talk about this and this is going to drive my point home. And I think she's trying in some way to kind of have some sort of moment with him that's like, this will make this light bulb go off that like we are this. And he's like, no.
And what other people in the world on the internet, they're just, they see what they see, which is have the hiccups, which is fine. We can both look at the same thing from different vantage points, but we have this interesting, unique insight that this is not just her acting cuckoo cuckoo. This is not just her. I think it was, I won't say, a psychologist on the internet. How about that? That recently said like, oh, she's almost using it like it's a documentary film and she must believe. That's not it. She's not using it because she thinks, oh my gosh, this great film is really just what I needed. It's true to life. She's not using it as a documentary. It's not superfluous.
It's her way to connect with people.
Yes.
Yeah.
This part of this interview and this interaction, probably to very other few people in the world aside from her family and people that know her very well, is not what it seems. It's not just her acting stupid about this movie and being super surface level with him and really just it is a much more significant reach for Nate than he or anyone else probably actually understands. And I think I needed a few days to chew on that because it was sitting here and I'm like, why does this irk me so much? And I'm like, that's why, because I have been front row and center in this family unit, seeing how they interact. And this is, like you said, sort of almost like a love language. And that is more significant than what it looks like on the surface to everyone else that has watched this, that also cringed like I did. But then I thought, wow, she really leaned in. And I don't think anyone understood that but her. It was weird.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. Let's listen to the cringe story.
All right.
Identify him with me.
Yes, absolutely.
So what does that mean?
Okay. So when did the reporter change his mind?
Remind me.
When he was floating in the flood on the ark.
I would say it was
Okay.
before that.
Not until God showed the miracle did his mind change. His mind was like, this is a crazy guy. He thinks he's like Noah. Why are you so crazy? He's pushing the narrative, right? He pushed the narrative. And then the flood came. And he's the first one screaming. And he's screaming and he's running for the ark because he had been pushing this narrative the whole time, right? This fake, false narrative that this guy was crazy, that God didn't talk to him, that all these things have happened, right? That these weren't God things that happened, okay? So then he's the first one to get on there screaming. And when he's floating down the river on the flood is when his mind was changed. So when you're open to changing your mind, I will be happy to enlighten you to the things of God.
Get on the boat, Nate.
Well, I would love to hear what you have to say. I wish we had more than 30 minutes.
I wish we had more time too, because we could really get into it.
A couple of more questions for you, and then I know that you have some things you want to say. The night before Alex died, he told Zulema, I think I'm their fall guy. Was he?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think he ever said that. I watched Zulema go through probably 13, 14 hours of detectives grilling her. I've watched the interviews. I've watched them all. And I watched her be berated by them, threatened by them, that they're going to arrest her, that she had a part in this, that she's a co-conspirator, and all this stuff until they got her to say exactly what they wanted her to say. And she made that up. She made up a lot of stuff. And I felt bad for her because I didn't want her arrested because she wasn't part of any conspiracy, because there wasn't any conspiracy. And I felt really bad for her. I do love Zulema.
Did you and Chad have anything to do with Alex's death?
No, absolutely not. We were very surprised. No.
What were you and Chad and Alex doing in the storage unit, moving the tire and the seat back and forth on the day that Brandon was shot at?
That she was do you not believe that she was surprised, or do you not believe that had something to do with it? Because I know Rex and Adam are like sold that her and Chad were involved somehow.
I don't think that. I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on it. I don't think she was surprised.
I don't think so either. But
then
I'm
that
not
would
sure whether or
allude,
not they had something to do with it.
Yeah, but then that would go to they may have had something to do with it, right?
The logistics don't add up for me. How would they have done this? Proximity and distance wise, for starters.
I know, well, they were in
Zulema's
Hawaii.
a space cadet, so I don't think she did it. But these types of health problems are hereditary. They're run in the Cox family.
Well, I think in the police report it had said that Alex had been complaining about feeling sick and Chad gave him a blessing. I don't know if that was like an in-person blessing or over Zoom or something. I don't know, but he was like, I just don't feel good. I don't know. Some of her responses just don't feel true to me.
Yeah, I just don't know if they had something to do. I'm open to the possibility, but it just doesn't really add up to me.
And the day after.
So that's so silly that is so silly. So there was stuff in my garage that I was starting to move into the storage unit. That's what we were doing. And so I moved that stuff in there.
The tire on the Jeep?
I moved stuff that had been in there. It was just sitting in there. It had been sitting in there. So I didn't have enough room to park. So I couldn't carry it. It was heavy. So I had Chad help me put it in. And the next day, Alex was like, where's all that stuff in the garage? And I was like, I went and put it in the storage unit. He's like, oh, I need that. So we went and got it. And that was it.
Can you see how, let's say you're not here. Let's say you're at home and you find out about this story and you do all your research. You go through all the court documents. You watch the trial. And you're watching another woman going through exactly what you're going through. Can you see how it sounds kind of crazy what you're saying? Like the fact that this was all a coincidence, or you were just moving stuff in and out?
Yeah, because the narrative has trained the people.
But if you did your own research.
The narrative has trained the people. I have people come up to me all the time in the jail. I know everything about your case. I've watched everything. And they have every fact wrong.
But aren't you in isolation? Are you able to talk with other inmates?
Yeah, you have no idea what it's like in there. Okay, I'm in max security. I'm in PC, which I didn't choose to be, but they put me in there for safety reasons.
Tell me what PC means.
So, protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Protective custody.
Protective custody, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm in a max pod with all the other women that are max. So there's like 8 women in my pod that are facing the death penalty. Okay. We're all in rooms in there, and we are all in there 23 hours a day. And we get 1 hour out a day to take a shower and clean our rooms.
So when is she doing these fitness classes?
How it is in there. But all of our doors have openings so we can talk to each other even through the doors. And so, yeah, so I'm not isolated. But when I am transported to court, like for my 2 trials, right, I'm with the women all day long that don't normally see me. So I'm friends with everybody in my pod, but other women will shout out to me that, oh, I know everything about you. I know everything about your story. And they've been so indoctrinated by the media and their narrative that they put out. And nobody was asking me what's happening. Nobody asked Chad what's happening. Well, would you have listened then? You have to.
Absolutely. I wish you
need to be on the boat, Nate. Are you on the boat yet? Because when you're on the boat, Nate, I am going to be happy to share all this stuff with you because miracles are on the way. Miracles are on the way. And when you're on the boat, that's why I sent you that last message. Well, I sent you the last message saying, when you're on the boat, you're ready.
Get in the car, loser. We're going shopping.
We weren't.
Does he support killing your husband?
I didn't kill anybody ever.
Killing your kids?
That part
I didn't kill anybody.
Killing your boyfriend's wife?
Okay. Was I in Hawaii when Tammy died?
Yes, because you set up an alibi just like you had Melanie out of town when you. I want to like slap her a little bit, like just smack her. Just give her a little tap.
Well, she's not like, I didn't tell anyone to, like, she's just going just far enough with information on some of this stuff where it's like, I didn't kill anybody.
She didn't. I believe that. I believe that part. She had someone else do it.
I do too.
But you know what? Charles Manson's a monster and he didn't kill anyone either.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't, right? He had zero. He personally, yeah.
I don't think
if I'm wrong, just correct me and move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever. But yeah, I think it's interesting. She's like, I didn't kill anybody. That's a fact. And that was by design. I was in Hawaii. Yeah, we know. Because that's how you did it. By design. It's like she thinks we're all born yesterday. Like super stupid. But it's interesting that instead of answering with yes or no, does Jesus like cheating? It's not a yes or no. It's a but. She got him ready to locked in.
How did I kill her? Are you going to explain that to the world now? How did I do that?
Using your kids' money while they're dead.
Okay, all that is messed up too. How
did you rent that unit in Hawaii?
That's all lies. Chad rented it. I did not.
Chad didn't have any money until Tammy died.
Chad rented it with his own money.
Author.
Okay.
Chad was an author and a publisher. And had his own company.
So
that's what I'm saying. You're getting
$30,000 a year.
No, but you're getting up facts that you don't.
Can I say something?
He's a broke ass, Lori. That's what Nate's trying to say. Yo, man's a loser.
Yeah, a loser. But I will say this: Chad may have told her he did have money.
Oh yeah, and she might have assumed too that he's an author. You can self-publish on Kindle now, Lori.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. Like she might believe that. She might believe that. I'll give that to her. He may have told her like, I've got money. It's fine.
She can't possibly believe it now, but I think at the time she did. And she's gonna have to die on that hill because otherwise, it's like finding out, this dude that pulled up in a Ferrari for your first date. Yeah, he was also the valet guy, and it was just a quick date for a reason because he had to bring that car back before before that dude's dinner was over. Like, I think she looked way too far into the future with this wonderful, because that's the only adjective she has, this wonderful guy, because everyone knows it.
Giving up whatever the state put up. They don't put up the whole story, Nate.
And
they just put up tiny pieces to put together their own narrative. That's it. You don't know anything about our lives or how they were or what we were doing in the temple. What we were doing in the temple every single day.
While you were in the temple, while Tammy was still alive, you were in the temple with Chad.
Several times, yes.
Right. So he's married to Tammy.
Correct. Tammy came to the temple with us too.
The three of you?
At some points, yes.
How many times?
Probably twice.
When is this narrative going to come out? When are you saying the full story is going to come out? Like your side, what really happened?
So I'm writing it, and I'm going to write out every single thing from beginning to end so that people can really understand, because you can't understand Tylee's whole end. And when you know what happened in Tylee's life, you start to understand. The lights click on. But nobody has said that. This lady got up in Idaho. It was 1 year after I had been arrested, and it was going to be Tylee's birthday. And there was a lady in Idaho Falls, and they were having some kind of vigil. And it was on the news because I was in a pod by myself at Madison County, right? And I'm watching the news, and this lady comes on, and she says, oh, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday because she died 2 days before her 17th birthday.
Let me clarify something, Internet.
Yes,
because we read all the comments, okay? At no point in time did Lindsay and I ever subscribe to this redonkulous statement she just made that Tylee died on X day. We were not like, oh my God, that was a slip of the tongue because she shouldn't have admitted. We did not believe the statement, and we weren't like, whoa, that's blowing our minds. That must be true. No. We were just shocked that she made the statement at all because of what it implied, and that it wasn't legit. It made no sense. That was why we were like, whoa, because Lori's never really done that before. She's never given that much. And we were like, what?
Yeah,
that makes no sense, and we don't buy it. But like, did anyone else catch that, or are we nuts?
Yeah, we were processing it in real time of like, that can't be, but she actually did put a date to something.
Right. So then we tried working out the math, like, but that would mean this, that still doesn't. We don't believe it. We weren't doing the math to make sure it was right. We're on the same page.
We're all together holding hands. We're all on the same page. Everybody calm down. We're not dumb. We're not buying her lies.
We're not drinking the Kool-Aid, and we're not on the boat.
We're not on the boat.
No.
Just chill. Okay.
It's okay. We're not getting sucked in. We're not. We appreciate that you want to make sure we don't get
everybody's like,
in.
well, another one believes her lies.
Bites the dust.
Yeah.
No. We were just shocked that she said anything at all, and what she said, especially because it didn't make any sense. But
everything's okay.
Everything's okay. We promise.
Yeah.
Damn it, Adam's rubbing off. Like, someone's gonna blame Adam. Like, see, they spent too much time.
It's Adam's fault.
And she said it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday today. And if Tylee were here...
Wait, does that mean Adam should pay for our therapy?
We'll circle back. He's getting a bill.
She would be out with her friends, and she would be singing and dancing, and she would be doing all these things. And this is a lady who has never met Tylee, never knew her, never knew anything about her life or our life. And I was like, do you know how many of Tylee's birthdays we spent in the hospital with her screaming in pain while she's on morphine, and the morphine isn't enough to take away the pain?
Wait. Are you really blaming this all on Tylee?
No, absolutely not. I'm saying Tylee, a really, and people
into her death.
So I'm not going to pause.
And Charles being shot, and Brandon being shot at, and Tammy's death.
Go watch it.
All those things connected, right? It's a domino effect. Correct. So in 2017, I was told by the Lord that I was going to become like Job and lose everything. Will I do this job if I lose everything? And so this domino effect of things happened. This is all the Lord's doing. And guess what? He's going to come forward and tell it all. And I don't have to. But I am writing it all down for posterity. I am writing it all down because you know what he told me? You know what Jesus told me? He said, this is going to be real good scripture reading in the future. So if you go back and you read the scriptures and you find all these stories that were going, what do you think is going to happen? These are the last days, right? We believe that. You believe
Nate's
that,
like,
right?
I don't know what you're talking
When can I get a copy of this? Because I want to read it.
But you're going to, the whole world's going to get to read it. I'm working on it. I work on it every day. Jeff's like, what are you doing in there all day? It's like, I'm writing.
Jeff is her investigator, I think.
To be back before.
Okay, who said I said that?
I'm asking you, did you say
No,
that?
absolutely
You never said
not.
that.
I have never, Chad has never, we've never given a date or a time. The prophet.
July 20, where'd July 20th?
Somebody made that up and put it on there. I have never said it. Chad has never said it. We've never had a date. We're going with what the prophet says. When President Nelson gets up and says, these are the last days, we need to prepare for the second coming. We need to gather Israel on both sides of the veil. That's what we were doing. That's what we were working on. And we wait for his timing. The Lord has his own timing. He's never early. He's never late.
Why has Chad been
His
excommunicated?
timing is great. So I think that was false
That's
too.
a great
That was
jingle she just
mean.
came up with.
That was mean.
To excommunicate him.
Absolutely.
Are you still a member?
As far as I know.
Okay. So Lori, if you could go back 6 years ago, June of 2019, would you change anything that's happened over the past 6 years?
Oh, that's a good question, Nate. I don't think I could because we were foreordained to do this mission, right? The Lord is using Chad and I right now, and this is what he's told us, as instruments in his hands. What do you think he's trying to teach the people, especially his people, his church? What do you think he's trying to teach his people right now while he separates the wheat from the tares? He has to have an earthquake. It has to be so detrimental. It has to get everybody's attention. Our case has done that. And what is he doing with that divide? He calls it, you know what Jesus told me? He calls it the not to judge. You weren't there, you don't know what happened, don't judge. That's what he's doing. And he's separating the wheat from the tares right now in his own house. And he's using Chad and I to do it.
So what if you end up going to Pocatello in a few weeks and spending the next 30 or 40 birthdays there behind bars?
That would be God's will, but I'll tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
So just to be clear, July 22nd, 2020 was the date that Charles Vallow gave police when he, in that body cam, where he's like, she said she's going to kill me and that the end of the world is coming. And then Kay Woodcock is also quoted as regurgitating that information because that is what Lori specifically said to Charles Vallow. He didn't come up with it out of nowhere. I feel like that's pretty, pretty solid. And he put it in legal paperwork too, in some of his court filings that she specifically expressed July of 2020. So it might have also been in a text, but I don't think Charles and Kay just decided, F it, let's come up with a date that the world is ending. That's such a stupid detail of all the other things. So just putting that out there in case people didn't know where that information did actually come from.
Happen. It is not going to be 20 or 30 years. No, it is not going to be 20 or 30 years. I will testify to that right now.
So if it's not, how about we meet every year on your birthday and we do a follow-up interview and you can give me the timeline?
Absolutely. I don't have a timeline other than what the prophet has said. Did you watch this last conference? Did you watch it?
Are you able to watch it in here?
No, but
I think it's interesting that
I was at the prison. At the prison, I was able to listen to it because on your tablet you have AM/FM radio, so you can listen. Three conferences on our tablet, it over and over. But all the prophets, all the apostles, everyone in the LDS church is saying, prepare gather Israel on both sides of the veil. I was going to the temple. I went to the temple every day for like 3 years. I was doing all Charles' family's work. I was doing all my family's work. I was gathering Israel on both sides of the veil. And Jesus came there. That's his house. And he talked to me and he told me that he needed me to do a mission for him. And this is what we're doing. And the media has turned it all around, but it was supposed to be, there's always a Judas. And I almost used to think of you as the Judas.
Me? Was I on the dark list?
No, but this is what I'm saying.
A lot of people were like, just saying no to the dark list.
Yeah.
I give her credit. Sometimes when I'm talking and someone will say something and go, no, well, like I will start a sentence and I know it's terrible grammar with no. I don't think that's what she did here, but it is possible.
Do you know who Judas is?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So it's just interesting to me that she is comparing Nate to Judas as someone who betrayed Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of puts you in her mindset. I think she was so angry with him, Nate.
Didn't Judas commit schmooicide? I don't want to say the word. Didn't he unalive himself, Judas?
Judas, if you're here...
Where's the?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I feel like he took his own life.
He may have, but people.
I'm not great with the biblical references, but I tried.
I don't remember if he did, but the point is he betrayed Jesus. He kissed Jesus on the cheek, kind of signaling that that's who Jesus was to those that were searching for Jesus. She puts Nate under that bracket, and I think she was like really wanting to go after Nate.
And Nate's over here like, oh, okay, cool. We didn't go to the same after school club. We didn't go to like he just looks genuinely like,
His face tells me that he wants to scream. Sometimes.
Well, I think this is one of the points where he said too, like she gets so far off track, and this is one of those times he did have to rein her back in. You can see it on his face. He's getting impatient with her, like, please God, make it stop. If God is so present in this guy, please God, make it stop.
Yeah.
Make it stop. Oh, that's a weird way to pause, but that's a great screen grab. Anyway.
To Judas. People think that Judas is a villain. And Judas is not a villain. You know what Judas was?
I think it's interesting
Judas
that she
was
thinks
a
that.
Vessel. Judas was a vessel for God's plan to come to fruition. And he told me the other day, it's coming to full fruition.
God did.
Yes. So when we are, just like he told Noah, who was what? Steve Carell in the movie, right? So God came there and talked to Steve Carell. Is that true? In the movie?
So I'm just going to put this out there. To say that she believes that Judas is not a villain. If you're not thinking about Lori Daybell, I'm not going to give her the Valo anymore. You're right, Lindsay. Just some food for thought. She has taken this, like all the other things in reality that she's taken and twisted to meet her needs. That's one of the most interesting things she's ever said, that she thinks that Judas is not a villain, that she is of this, I'm going to guess, really small minority that sees Judas as this vessel because he was the catalyst and he was the genesis point for Jesus to just come into his own and be this divine, powerful, but without like Judas, that wouldn't have happened. So it still makes him a villain. Okay. It just means the means to the end, maybe in the divine plan. Let's just say that's how it was supposed to happen. That does not make Judas not a villain. That is just someone justifying villainy as a means to an end because there's a bigger plan. And that's how you would relate to that particular person is that, oh, well, this is how I see. That's a dangerous, dangerous comment. But it definitely gives insight into what she thinks. She thinks in general that if it's a means to an end, if it is all in the big purpose, then you're not a villain. That is literally how she just summarized this entire case. Everything that she did or didn't do or influenced other people to do was a means to an end. And that doesn't make me a villain. It makes me part of God's plan, including murdering her own children. And she just explained it to you all right there.
Don't hate. I'm a vessel. Okay.
But if anyone's confused about how she feels about her behavior, that's it right there.
Movie.
Yep.
And
God, we're
the
back to
media
the
guy
movie.
didn't believe him, right? This guy's crazy, right? God didn't talk to him, didn't tell him.
Make his wife mad.
Because that was going to get wiped out, right? So God has told me lots of things, and this is one of the things that he told me. He's using us as instruments in his hands to separate the wheat from the tares.
Did you ever think...
And people are choosing. Do you know how many people have left the church over our case? Which, what does our case have to do with the church? Nothing. It has nothing to do with the church. We're not against the church.
Did you ever think you'd have the...
How can you not be against the church if you say you're an active member of it? She's literally naming the puppy again. We are a separate entity. Church, we're not against the church. They also claim that they weren't going rogue from the church. Which is it?
But she's hiding under that umbrella.
That doesn't make any sense, Lori. Come on now. Keep your lies straight. No.
Title of convicted serial killer.
No, do I?
Well, for people...
I mean, I guess you could technically say that, but everyone in the world knows that I didn't hurt anyone. I've never hurt anyone in my whole entire life.
Well, years ago, everybody I've talked to, your friends, family, say you were a great mom, so much fun, loved to dance, loved music, loved to travel. You were the light of the party. And here we are in a jail. How did you get from there to here?
God put me here for his purpose. And so you know who he needs? He needs somebody who's the life of the party, somebody who teaches the girls how to work out, somebody who teaches the girls how to have fun and dance and do all those things in the worst jail in the country. He needed somebody to come in to the worst jail in the country and strengthen these women. And I'll tell you what happened. We used to have this wonderful lady, and she used to come in, and she's from mental health. She used to come in on Tuesdays, and she'd be down there, and she's blonde, and she's really cute, and she's really fun. She's bubbly like me. And she would come down there and she'd try to get the girls to work out and give them coping mechanisms and talk to them about stuff like that. And half of the girls didn't like her. They thought she was annoying and they were waking her up and stuff like that. Because you know why? She wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of them. But you know what I have? I have 7 lifetimes. I have worse
So you're on your 7th life now?
Oh, poor Nate.
No. I'm saying I got 5 life sentences in Idaho.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel so bad for him because it's the second time he really kind of leaned in, but it's... I can see why he made that mistake. But he was real serious about it instead of like, what? He was really like, oh, so you're in your 7th life versus like, do you mean lifetime?
He wants to explore that.
He was really leaning in, poor Nate, just a little too much. And she's like, no. Dumb. That's not what I meant. And Nate is not a dumb man by any stretch of the imagination, but like, he really did his best. He did the most. He really did the most to try to lean into Lori's bullshit and like meet her where she was. And every time she's like, nope, no, I'm talking about the real world now. Oh, I forgot. There's a fake one. You're on your 7th life. I felt so bad for him. I'm like, oh, you really tried. That was so many points to Nate Eaton. He really, really leaned in. And she's like forgetting this alternative world that she lives in for a minute. Like, oh crap, that's right. And she didn't even correct him. She was just like, no. I'm on my 4th life, man. Keep up. Okay, I'm sorry.
About another one here and another one here.
I was talking about the multiple probations.
No, I'm talking about I'm
sentenced
to 7 lifetimes.
She wasn't like, wait, what?
Why didn't you tell all this to the police?
So
I mean, she got nothing.
Why didn't you tell them all this when you were arrested? Explain this to them. You know, God's told me to do this. Give your defense.
For the same reason Charles wasn't believed. Same thing with her husband.
If you really do think Tylee was responsible for this, why don't you tell the police? She had chronic pancreatitis. JJ had autism. So happy to correct all of these things.
All of these things. She was sexually abused by her dad from the time she was 3 years old and forced by family court to go to him for 10 years. You don't think that was hard on her? She was in the hospital all the time. She had chronic pain.
Why not tell the police all this?
And you know
at the very beginning, or what are you talking about?
I'm going to fast forward a little bit out of respect to Colby, who has said that, or at least inferred, implied, and made clear that it wasn't great that she started talking about him in this manner in this part of the interview. So I'm gonna
where we had lived previously, and they said,
a
okay.
little bit.
And Joe hired a criminal. We were living in Hawaii. We had come back. Tyler in bed with her till 3 o'clock.
Seen the interviews.
I haven't seen any juror interviews, none.
Okay,
I have no access. I'm in here 23 hours a day. I'm in
Right.
max security. We don't have access to anything.
Well, they hear from you. It's Idaho.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I get up on the stand and Trina Kay's sitting there, or
Rob
what's
Wood.
her name? Lindsay Blake, Rob Wood, right?
I like
And
that
they're
she's
sitting
only
there.
talking
Are they
about
going to let me
female
tell
attorneys.
Tylee's story on the stand? You know they're not. They're going to object every 2 seconds.
If it's relevant to the case.
I'm writing it out. No, they won't, because they don't want me to tell that story, because it's opposite of their narrative. It crushes their narrative.
But
it crumbles their narrative.
But you,
It's never going to
but
be
you know,
what
you
it
know,
is.
as a defense attorney,
Yeah.
you present your defense, so you would have witnesses that would come in and would testify to the things you're saying and would give
I
evidence
love it,
to
Nate.
that.
You're just as naive as us, and I love it, because guess what? I found out as a defense attorney. This is what happened with Judge Boreski. This is what happened. They don't let you put on a defense. Do you know how many motions I had on? We had 30.
She talks a lot with her hands when she's mad.
Trina Kay went up there. She gets to look at all your exhibits, right? This is how it works in law. She gets to look and see what all our things are, what we're putting up. Guess what I had? I had about 5 interviews with one of the cops who said, I have on video.
The vocal fry she uses too. She's using a
Guess what
man's
happens?
voice.
So I have 4 of those are my exhibits. I'm waiting for Detective Moffat to get on the stand. The state says they're going to put on Detective Moffat. Guess who they don't put on at all?
Detective Moffat.
Detective Moffat. They go around you, and then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you had
He didn't let me put one exhibit
Can
on.
I say something?
What if you
Not
had
one.
waived your right to a
Can I
trial
just say
though, and given
something?
your legal?
Can I say something? Lori,
Please do.
stop for a second.
Stop.
So Nate interviewed
Nate innervates.
Rachel, and yeah, I know it's late. Nate interviewed, is it Rachel Smith, the special prosecutor?
Couple
She made a
times.
very interesting point. She said, because he was talking to her about Lori saying she didn't get a fair trial because of all these things. And she said, what's interesting is she makes these motions, she puts in evidence and all these things. And she'll say, like, well, why can't I do that? And every single time it's like, well, that's not the law.
Right.
And she's like, you hate me. And it's like, no, Lori, you're wrong.
Right.
You're just
and
wrong.
They can't
Like,
give her legal advice or correct.
no.
Like, Judge Boreski went above, beyond, around, underneath, and came back up the front with how much he gave
He
her
helped
leeway
her.
and helped her as
Yeah.
subtly like as he could. But
Right.
they can't tell her other than that's the law. They can't explain
Yeah.
it to her. They can't give her the context. That's her job.
Yeah.
And like Rachel Smith said, Lori just was a bad lawyer. She did better than a lot of pro se or pro per. I don't know what they say in Arizona, but
whatever it
like
is.
she did a lot better than a lot of people do. But that doesn't make her a good lawyer. She made a lot of
Right.
mistakes that if she were a seasoned attorney, she would have had that background, that 101 BS that she was doing wrong, and it would have turned out very differently. So
Right,
Lori's
but
also
instead of-
going to refuse to accept accountability for that. And if she
Right.
doesn't get what she wants, it's the judicial system. I'm putting that up there with family tragedy.
Yeah, you can put that under that same little spectrum of BS, but it's not that she can be wrong, it's that they are against her,
Right.
which is a very strong way of her thinking. Anyways, continue, Nate. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, Nate. Hold on.
Team another year or so to go through all of that. Don't you think that would have helped your case?
No, not at all. Because guess what my team said? They said he wouldn't have let us put it on either. There's so many jobs, so much political aspiration going on behind the scenes in a high profile case. There is no way in heaven that they were going to let me
I
get
love
up
that,
there
though.
and win as a pro per client. Because you know what? It's like a virus in here. Do you know these girls that are treated so bad by their defense teams that are making $1.5 million a year while they sit here for 8 years, 10 years waiting to go to trial? There's girls in here that have been here for 10 years. Do you know what happens when you have a toothache in this jail? They pull out your teeth. So tell me how it's not prejudicial for you to go into trial with 5 of your teeth missing and you look like a homeless
Jeez.
person.
She's blowing that mic out.
That doesn't have any dental for waiting to go to trial.
You mentioned a virus. Were you really sick?
Accurate.
Oh, I was so sick. Yeah, I really
You
was
weren't
sick.
putting it on a little bit in the wheelchair?
Not at all. I
putting
couldn't
your
even
head on the table in the courtroom? You were really feeling sick.
I tried so hard not to throw up in court.
The
And
state
Jeff can
wants
attest.
her
So Jeff
medical
had the same
records.
virus I had. We had been working till like 8 o'clock at night getting ready for trial. The next day
Mention
when
it
I went
all.
Thursday,
Mhm.
he calls in sick. He's
She's
sick in
loving
bed,
that she's
can't
got
lift
a
his head,
witness
he's
in the
throwing
room
up.
right there. She could be like,
Okay.
right.
Friday
Were you
at
there?
trial, we were
Weren't you
picking a
there?
jury. I threw up at lunch
I
and
believe
told
she
the
was
judge,
sick
I was
'cause
like,
she
oh no,
sounded
I must have the
gross.
same thing Jeff had. Jeff missed my whole
I think she
trial
was
because
sick.
he was sick for
I think
10
she
days
just
in
milked
bed.
it.
I
She
had
definitely
was
was
so
sick.
sick. I haven't
She's
been.
in a
I've been
she's
incarcerated
in
for 5.5
jail.
years.
Not
I've
only
only
being
ever been
petri
sick one
dish.
other time, and that was like a really severe headache that I thought may have been COVID or something for like 10 days.
She wants
I've
a new
never been this
trial
sick.
'cause how
And
she
you don't
was
have
treated,
any
she was
access
sick.
to anything. Like,
And the
you don't
state's
have
like,
access to
"Gosh,
medicine
she
or
was a
food
doctor,
or
so
anything that you
show
need.
us
I
your
was
tests."
so sick. I had an infection. I had to get on antibiotics. And the medical here is ridiculously horrible. They did a
love
test
that
on
too.
me. We're supposed to give me antibiotics. They didn't give it to me for a week. And it started them until a week later than I should have started on them.
Do you feel bad about anything that's happened? Do you have any remorse? Any
Nate's like,
apology?
So anyway,
Anything?
So anyway.
Bad about anything that's a really broad
It
question.
is a broad question. About the past 6 years, any do you feel bad about
Do I
all
have
this?
bad feelings about anyone?
Not
Or-
bad feelings. Do you personally feel bad or feel some remorse for the victims in these cases?
That was a
None
better
of the
question,
people
more
are
specific.
victims.
So-
So
Are you the victim? Is that what you're
no,
saying?
I'm not
hear
saying
that
I'm a
without
victim at
going,
all.
"Whoa."
I'm not saying that at all. I'm an instrument in God's hands. The victims that you call victims,
She is
are
the
not
vessel. She is Judas.
The coroner's
the one the
Brenda?
state.
Brenda died. The county
Okay.
coroner
Okay,
who said she was asphyxiated. So aren't her kids victims?
okay, no. Do her kids feel like they're victims? No,
Actually,
they don't.
no,
they
they
understand
don't,
the
which is
truth. But let me
What
tell you
about her
something.
siblings?
Let me tell you something about Brenda Dye for a
Don't
second.
have
Let's go
kids.
back to that because you said
Okay.
the coroner, and that is not even a true
She
statement.
originally ordered it as natural causes. You're right.
Oh, thank you, Nate. A fact, a
then
true
they
fact.
Then they
Okay.
exhumed her body the day before Alex died, which
Okay.
looks suspicious with Alex's death. They exhumed her body and they said no, she had the marks.
Did you hear what you just said?
What?
Looks suspicious. Who exhumed her? Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death?
So you're saying
Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death? What was
Because
the
they have
explanation
evidence
for
to
exhuming her when
suggest
she
that
had a
she
natural
didn't.
death
I
from the
was getting
coroner?
away
The
with
coroner
it and
said,
I'm
why?
mad.
because you and
Yeah.
Chad were under investigation
Yeah.
and they thought that you all might have
But
killed
if
her.
it only looks
Why? Because of
suspicious,
Heather Daybell and what she said at the very
doesn't
beginning
make
and
it
called you up to say?
suspicious.
That's
Heather-
exactly where you're getting
Heather
it.
Daybell
That's
did
where
not
you're
call me.
getting
Heather
it.
Daybell
I
did
didn't say she
comment
called you.
on
She
this.
called you
She
through
might
I
have
didn't
Detective
talk to
Hope.
Detective
Good
Hope
for
at all.
her.
You talked to Hermosillo.
I don't remember talking to Hermosillo. The tip I got when you were in Hawaii was from none of those people.
It was before we went to Hawaii. It's before you went to Hawaii. How'd you get a tip
We-
before you showed up in
we-
Hawaii?
we-
You obviously had a tip before you
We
showed up
found
in
out
Hawaii.
about this
Excited
case
she could be in
when
someone's
the police sent out a
logic
news
somewhere.
release. And
Good
then
God.
somebody random, I still to this day don't know, and I swear to you, to this day, we got a Facebook message from an anonymous account with a GPS location of where you and Chad were.
I mean, hell,
Yeah.
Lori, there's
I
Someone
swear to
did
you.
not. No, you
videos
were
on
in
the
an
internet
interview
that
with someone.
said
I
that
did see
she's
a tiny
here.
little piece of an interview. I think you had Hermosillo and
Okay.
someone
Car rental
in an
place.
interview, and they were saying, didn't someone call you up and say, this is going to be the biggest story of your
No,
life?
she's
Nate
like, crap.
Eaton."
Oh, a police
I talked
detective
all
did
this
tell me
crap
that,
to
yeah,
him
but it's
earlier.
no, but
Maybe I
it's
got
not.
Who was
It's,
it?
it's not the people that you named. It's a source. So
You're not
back-
going to tell me your source, but you know everything about me,
back
but
to
you're
the
not going to
question.
tell me your source.
There's a lot I don't know about you, Lori. Back to the question though. You don't feel bad. You're
She's
saying none of
like,
these
got
people are
him.
I feel
Kay
bad,
and Larry
of
aren't
course.
victims. Brandon's not a victim.
No.
Mm.
Hard things happen to them in their life,
I'd be
right?
interesting to know how she defines victim.
The judicial system plays up the victim thing pretty big,
Oof.
right? We've
Well,
seen it
there's
happen.
usually a victim in every
The
case.
people
That's
who
how it
lost
works.
their children. I lost my children.
Oh, shut
lost them.
up.
But people, because of what you
still
did,
react to this.
What did I do
Shut
to them?
up.
you arranged with Alex to conspire to kill them.
No, I did not.
And
Absolutely
Chad.
not. Absolutely
Did you
not.
know that they were in Chad's
Absolutely
backyard, or
not.
did I?
No, I did not know that. I did not know where they were. Alex told me that he was
That's
put
not
them in a
true.
safe place. That's what he
So
told
did
me.
you find
here's
out at the court?
language that I think that she's screwing herself with. Not that there's anything to screw herself to. She'd already been convicted. She could go to the rooftops and yell about how she did it. It doesn't matter. But since she's determined not to do that, the word put, not took, not the kids were, put, like an object. He put them in a safe place. She literally just said, they were dead. That's literally what that amounts to for me. And the fact that she's saying this stuff, I don't think she realizes. Like, for people that are going to read between the lines, Alex put them in a safe place. I put my phone down on the table. I put hair ties in my hair. I don't put people places unless I'm physically putting them places. I put my dog in a crate when she's acting crazy and there's people in the house. I don't put living, breathing people with agency places. That usually don't work out too well. It's called kidnapping.
Right.
Sorry.
Agreed.
A lot of people caught that, but it's like,
yeah.
Did she even realize this?
Yeah, it's that fancy vocabulary she's using to just really sink her own ship.
Has so much bullshit going on that she can't remember which fantastical smoke and mirrors she did here. Like, did I say that here? Okay, I got to use the word family tragedy one more time. Okay, that's right. I said this is family tragedy.
The first trial.
I keep using family tragedy.
The judicial system. Put that on your bingo card.
Okay.
We're almost done, guys.
Is that the first time you'd seen those autopsy photos?
Yeah, I hadn't ever seen them.
I believe that.
I never looked at them before that. Because that's not how I picture my children. I know where they are in heaven. I know what they're doing. They have come to visit me. So I don't see them as bones. If anybody dies and you go to a cemetery and you dig them up 9 months later, you're not going to like what you find. It's not going to be
They're
pretty.
not going to look like that, Lori. They're not going to
I'm saying
like that.
anybody isn't going to look like that. I'm saying once your spirit leaves your body and goes to heaven, okay? Because I died, right? When I was giving birth to Tylee, I died. And my spirit left my body. And guess what happened? When you're out of your body and you're your real self and your eternal self and who you are, you could care less what happens to your body. I've had that experience. Chad's had that experience. There's others that have had that experience. So the body dies. Everyone's dying, right? We're all going to die. Our bodies are all going to go back to the earth where they were from. And we carry on. We move on. So my children are in their eternity. They're doing well. They're happy. They're moving on. They don't want me to be sad. They came to me because they don't want me to be sad. They said, Mom, you didn't do anything wrong.
I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
And I want out.
There's a lot of people that say I shouldn't have interviewed you. Well, they don't know I've interviewed you, but they say that you don't deserve a platform because of what you've done, what you've been found guilty of. Do they have a point?
In this unfair judicial system,
judicial system,
and I would say be careful who you're judging, because anybody could end up in orange. You could be living your little life in the suburban bubble like I was, and anybody could end up in orange. Anybody, because they can turn this on anybody. There's women in here, beautiful, smart, intelligent women that have had their children die, and they're family tragedies, and they're not crimes, and the state has turned them into crimes, and they're not crimes. And what I got accused of and convicted of, just like the 3 Nephites, what crime did they commit that they got 7 death penalties for?
Hey, everyone in jail and prison are innocent.
They got 7 death penalties for. I'm in good company. I'm in good company, and in heaven I will be in their company. And I didn't do anything that deserves this kind of punishment. But God did want me here. He did want me in here with these women. He wanted me to lift and strengthen women and uplift them in these family tragedies. There's women in here that have suffered the same things I have. They've been here for years, waiting to go to trial. They haven't even gone to trial yet. But it's an unfair system, and they probably will get convicted. And then we'll see each other at the prison, and we'll uplift each other there until Jesus comes. And when he comes, he's going to set everybody in the prisons free. And all those who are unjustly and wrongfully convicted, like me and like these others, we will be walking free on this earth, and we will be walking with Jesus, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, I have 15 cards, but I'm getting the wrap. So thank you, Lori, for chatting with me, and maybe we can
like she just
maybe we can do it again
during her debate speech.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's
Happy
time.
birthday.
God bless America.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
She's like, can I have my M&Ms?
Can I have M&Ms?
Nope.
No.
Are you guys going to mute me?
None for you, Gretchen Wieners. So yeah, this is the ugh, blah. But yeah, so guys, we know you have opinions, so please keep sharing.
Fire away.
We're not drinking the Kool-Aid. We're not on a bus, a boat.
We're okay.
No green eggs, no ham. We're good.
I know. All right, Kimberly, final thoughts on this.
I don't think it's the last we'll hear from her in some shape or form. I'm glad that her major cases are over, that there's nothing else, that the light is dimming, and that we don't have a reason to keep talking about her unless something happens and we want to discuss. But what was it? What movie is it? The American President, Michael Douglas. I am Andrew Shepard, and your 15 minutes are up. We are jury duty, and your time is up, Lori.
Yeah,
We're
your time
done.
is up. Oh,
We're done.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't think she's going to write a book with her whole story.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Nobody look forward to that. I don't think that's going to happen.
It'll be plagiarized or like lightly lifted from some heroic Mark Twain book or something where she is like this. I'm not even going to finish that.
I know. I think that, I mean, I have some thoughts on like just the way she answered certain things that I'm like, but you know, we're going to have the sentencing at the end of the month. We'll talk about it then, but guys, Lori Daybell is wrapping up.
The fat lady has sung, and apparently her name is Heather Daybell. Like, what?
Heather Daybell.
Heather Daybell's a class act. I haven't seen a single reaction from her anywhere. She either doesn't care or is like,
she wants to move on.
Yeah.
No, she's like, I get it. I'm done. So final thoughts, write them out below. Again, if you guys like the content, come back and chit chat with us. We are going to have some interesting content coming up for you guys.
We are. Back in high gear, we're going to do more than one every Olympic cycle.
I know.
There's been some stuff going on, so thank you.
Yeah, it's been busy around here. So anyway, like, share, subscribe if you want. If not, we're glad you're here. Hang out with us on our socials. And Kimberly, will you see our friends out, please?
Make good choices, and we'll see you next time. Bye.